who reinforces the boundaries and the standards. The feminine does. A man will listen to you and be like, oh, okay, she's serious. She has some authority. She means X, Y, and Z. And this is why a lot of women say he changed for her and he didn't change for me. He changed for the woman. He became a better man for the woman that had high boundaries and high standards. That's what really truly happened. And the woman that was able to hold and uphold those standards and boundaries with her feminine energy. Hello, my beautiful muses, and welcome back to this week's episode. I am so excited to be sitting here and having this chat about masculine and feminine energies, because if you're like me, you probably didn't realize that you've been operating in your masculine and your hyper independent masculine for so long, because out of a defense mechanism, out of a place of being wounded and hurt and in pain, and so you felt like you needed to survive. So it was like survival mode. And so maybe you realize that now, or you've realized that recently, and now you've demonized being in your masculine, and you're trying to figure out what the feminine feels like, should look like, or maybe you're trying to dive way into being more feminine and feeling more into your feminine energy, and still not feeling your masculine or allowing your masculine to lead. And so I want to sit here and have this conversation because I think it's important to talk about these energies and how they both coexist and help each other out. And I want to, of course, share my journey and discovering these parts of myself, and I hope it resonates with you, and I hope it gives you some clarity to when to use these energies, because I want to make that really clear in this episode. Is both of these energies are so beautiful and they do so much in our lives, and they're here for reasons in our lives, right? The masculine is a part of us as women. The feminine is a part of us as women. And regardless of which one you lead with in your life, they're both important and just as important in your life. So let's dive right in. Okay, so I first want to say this is how I envision the masculine energy and the feminine energy. I envision it, if I had to put faces or a feeling behind them, I feel like the masculine energy is a protector. It's the father figure. It's the don't do this, I don't want you to do that, leads by example, is able to be stern, able to say exactly what is needed to do, doesn't overanalyze it, just more instinctual. They just go for it, they just do things, and they lead, they provide, they create a space where you feel safe, like a father figure would. When I picture these entities, it's like this man that I'm envisioning, he's a father, he's a provider, he's a leader, he's there to help make you feel safe and feel like you're able to do anything and everything, but also warn you of where to go and where not to go, and when to do this and when not to do that. And so if you're like me, you never had a positive father figure in your life, then this kind of feels a little weird, right? I don't even know what that feels like or where that energy feels. And so when I think of the feminine too, I don't know what that feels like, and that's so valid, right? That's a valid point. If we've never had that for ourselves, it's our jobs now to reparent those parts of ourselves and feel into the healthy masculine and what that would look like in our lives. And so that's how I envision the masculine. And how I envision the feminine is a loving, nurturing mother that listens, that cares. And it doesn't only have to be a mother, but when I think of a mother nurturing and loving her child, not screaming at them, yelling at them, telling them what to do, that's mothering. That's actually very much masculine energy. But I mean in the essence of a woman's nurturance and love and compassion and softness. And I see her running through a field of lavender, feeling free, not having any time constraints, not feeling like her worth comes from doing. She's just whole with feeling. She's whole with her heart. She knows who she is. She loves who she is. She's deeply intuitive and in tune with her intuition. She doesn't doubt her intuition. Just like the masculine's able to just intuitively say, this is what needs to be done. The feminine does the same, but in a different way. Instead of the doing and the action, she's more of the knowing. She's more of the one that knows what's going to happen regardless, and it's not doubtful of what's going to happen. She knows. She's really in tune with the spiritual side of life, whether that's God for you. For me, it's God, but she's very in tune with that. And so she doesn't doubt herself. She's in flow. She just knows when to love and when to nurture. She also knows when to not love and when to nurture somebody or something that is not meant for her. And so just wanted to give you that visual because I'm a very visual person. And so when I think of these two different energies, that's how I envision them. And what's helped me in balancing these two energies out in my life is really seeing them as that mother and father figure. And because I didn't have either of those two mother and father figures that I just explained, I had to realize, okay, what did I need from a father figure? What was it exactly that I needed him to do, to lead, to protect, to provide, to give me that safety? Because here's the thing, the reason you're probably in your hyper masculine is because you don't feel safe to be in your feminine. And that probably comes from survival mode, from your trauma, from the things in the past, from your childhood, from all the things that the heartbreaks, all the things that have hurt you to your core. You've shielded yourself and now you're in this toxic masculinity. And so for your feminine side, for the essence of being a woman, it doesn't feel natural. And so there's going to be a lot of resistance if we stay in that toxic masculinity masculinity and toxic masculine energy. And that toxic masculine energy is the one telling you, if you don't succeed, if you don't do this or that, or if you don't hit 10K months, if you don't make more than X, Y, and Z, if you're not successful in your life, if you're not this and that by this age, fill in the blank. That is the toxic masculine energy that you're living in. If those are the things and the mile markers that you feel like you have to check off in order to feel successful, that is how the negative masculine energy creeps in. And so if you're there, if you've realized this about yourself and now you're like, oh, I don't want to do that, I don't want to have anything to do with my masculine energy, I'm here to tell you, like, your masculine energy is so powerful. It's actually what's going to help you embrace your feminine energy truly. Like, actually feel her feminine energy, to feel into your feminine energy, into your softness, into your vulnerability, to start unshielding yourself little by little so that you can feel safe enough to be both energies and actually really embrace it. I think a lot of women, even if by nature are a little more masculine, like I'm more masculine by nature and so much of my life, but I feel my best when I'm in my feminine, when I'm around my partner and I don't have to think, when I'm just being and not doing, when I just have like time for myself, when I can just be in my own essence, my own presence. That's when I feel the most alive, and it's when I feel the best, like I truly the best, right? Because it's not tied to something else. It's not tied to when I do this and that, even though I get dopamine hits and excitement when I make a sale or when I help a client or when I do any of these things. Of course that feels good and that gives me dopamine hit, but it's almost like short-term little dopamine hits, like the masculine energy would go and do. He would come, masculine energy goes and provides, he grabs a fish, he brings it back to his family, they eat the fish, has to go do it again for the next meal. And so I want you to really analyze, am I staying stuck in my negative masculine energy, or am I just in my masculine energy because I need those dopamine hits in order to feel good and I need those constant validation markers to feel good? Am I living in a place of being shielded instead of being open and vulnerable? And why does that feel good? Like, I want you to really ask yourself that. Why does that feel good to you? Because when I asked myself this question, I realized, well, it keeps me in control. And so control is just fear of losing things, of losing yourself. And so it's fear-based. And so if you're feeling like you're in your masculine a lot because you have to control outcomes, you have to control how things happen, how your interaction with the opposite sex happens, how your interaction with your clients happen, how your business goes. If you feel like you have to constantly be in your masculine because you need that control, then that is a good piece of evidence to know, how do I create more safety in my masculine? And we'll get into this in a little bit, but how do I create more safety in my masculine energy so that my feminine can come in and really step into who she's meant to be and just give it her all and just be there and be like the amazing goddess that she's supposed to come be, right? That's how I also see when I envision the feminine. It's like she's a goddess. She's walking and she has these white clothes and she's just like flowing. There's no restrictions. There's no constraints in her energy. She's just free flowing and loving and caring and nurturing, but mostly herself. And we're going to get into that too. And so after you ask yourself that powerful question, why am I in my masculine and how can I get out of it? And why does it feel safe to be in my masculine? We're going to try to do the opposite. And that's going to get uncomfortable, and that's going to mean that you're going to lose a little sense of control. You're going to feel fearful. The parts of you that feel uncomfortable is because you haven't been there before, because it doesn't feel safe. And like I said, we'll get back to how to create safety within your masculine. One of the best ways I found to create safety within your masculine is to be consistent with your word to yourself. I see TJ being a father to his amazing daughter, which is my stepdaughter, and I see their interactions. And when we're playing in playgrounds or she's doing anything, she was skating the other day, he told me, I wasn't there, but he told me like she kept looking for me and just wanted to make sure that I saw her. I realized that of course we do this as kids, but especially little girls with dads. We want to know that the masculine is there to protect us, that if we're going to trip and fall, that dad and the masculine energy is going to come and protect me. They're going to grab me. They're going to hold me. They're going to embrace me. And so how can you give this to yourself if you never even had it as a child, or you don't even know what it looks like or what a healthy masculine looks like? You start giving it to yourself. And so I got you to yourself starts creating that healthy masculine, I've got me and it's safe. And you do this by consistently showing up for yourself, by consistently doing the things you say you're going to do for yourself. And I'm not just talking about the masculine actions, like I'm going to go work out, and I said I'm going to read a book, and I said I'm going to do this and that. No, you can bring in some of that feminine energy into this too and say to yourself, you know what? I want to start leaning into my feminine energy, so I'm going to start consistently doing nothing. I actually had this conversation with a girlfriend yesterday, and I was like, I need to get back to that. I've been not very good about this, but just doing nothing, like not being on your phone, just sitting there on the couch doing nothing. nothing, like looking out the window if you want to, but doing nothing. Giving yourself the permission to do nothing, to just be, to enjoy your presence, to enjoy who you are, to enjoy how you feel around yourself. If you start consistently doing that, what it starts telling yourself, I'm safe. Wait a minute. We don't have to be on our phones in order to feel good. We don't have to be getting validation from other people in order to feel good. I don't need to watch and look at my bank account in order to feel good. I don't need to wait for that text message from that person in order to feel good. I'm feeling good here within myself. And that coupled with the masculine energy, like if you say you're going to show up for yourself by working out, by going on a walk, by doing that yoga class that you've been scared of doing, whatever that is, keep the promises you say to yourself. That is so important because it's what we want as children. It's what we need to see as children in order for us to start feeling safe and going into the unknown and into the world. You look back at your parents and you hope, are they there? Are they watching? Am I good? Am I safe? You have to be that parent that's looking at your child, your inner self the whole time and saying, I've got you, you're safe, it's okay. And the only way to do that, in my opinion, and from my own experience, has been to consistently show up for myself, to consistently do and act in the ways that I say I'm gonna do it. Here's the catch-22 on that. We're not perfect humans, and so we won't do that perfectly every single time. You're gonna tell yourself, I'm gonna start working out, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna sit in silence, and I'm gonna do it for 20 minutes, and you end up doing it for 5 minutes, for 2 days, then you stop. And then what happens? Shame and guilt comes in. These emotions that are really, really hard to process. When we feel shame and guilt, we feel we're being imperfect, especially if we're like in that hyper masculine, trust me, and I say this from experience because I've been there so many times. And so that tells our subconscious, we're not safe here because we're not perfect. We didn't do this perfectly. We're not safe. We're not safe. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. This is where your feminine energy comes in, believe it or not. If you've listened to any of my emotions processing masterclass that I have, it's a freebie. The link is in the description below, but it's a free 4-day short video series where I help you process your emotions. But lower vibration emotions like shame and guilt really need the feminine energy. What they really need is nurturance, acceptance, and love. So again, if you didn't have a mother that was nurturing, loving, and accepting, then you're not going to know exactly how to be that way with yourself. So how do you do that? How do you act that way? How do you give yourself the things that you never had? How do you give yourself exactly what it is that you need when you don't even know what that looks like? And so it's telling yourself, hey, it's okay. Giving yourself a hug, giving yourself that time, even if you didn't do it perfectly, journaling out things, slowing down. The feminine is less in the doing and more in the feeling, more in the being. And this is why it's hard to explain what the feminine is sometimes, because it's just a feeling. And feelings are hard to explain. When you try to explain your feelings to somebody, sometimes you're like, that's not exactly how I feel. I actually feel more intensely than that. I feel more love towards you than I can even explain. I love you more than words can describe. That's what the feminine energy is. And so when you allow yourself to say, it's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to not do things exactly like you said you would. It's this beautiful balance. It's almost like a dance. The masculine sets the tone. This is what we're going to do. Sets the rules or the to-do list, whatever you want to call it. And then when you do it well, you congratulate yourself. You love yourself. And when you don't do it perfectly, you do the same. You love and congratulate yourself like a mother would a child. When you see mothers and fathers, you have kids or you're watching kids, like usually parents are at games watching their kids. You see the masculines like, go, 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 do this, do that. And it's almost like frustrating when the kid just messes up or whatever, but the mothers are usually like, it's okay, we'll get him next time, it's okay. They're softer. And so that's how I want you to be with yourself. That feminine energy starts coming out when you're like, it's okay, I'm not perfect. And that is the beautiful parts of me. These are the parts that I've been avoiding. These are the parts of my tough exterior masculine energy has been trying to shield me from myself, because these imperfect parts of me are the parts that I don't do things perfectly or that are maybe unlovable or we feel like we should be ashamed of. Those are the parts that make us the most beautiful when we allow ourselves to really look within and actually embrace them. That is the feminine energy. That is the actual love. I'll give you another example. We fall in love with men. A lot of the times we say things like, I was blind in love and anything he did, it was just like, didn't matter. We can do it for other people. But when it comes to ourselves, it's really hard to do. It's really hard to do because we have this sense of criticism that we feel like we need to have within ourselves, because maybe that's what was most likely, it's what was modeled to us growing up. We were criticized a lot. We were told we have to be X, Y, and Z. And maybe we weren't even told we had to be these ways in order to gain love. But we were shown that. We were shown that the only ways we gained love was by doing things. We didn't feel like we got love otherwise. We didn't feel like we got love by doing nothing and just being ourselves. And so it's time to give it to ourselves. It's time to be that feminine, loving, nurturing part of us. And that does mean like getting uncomfortable and doing things that maybe you haven't realized you haven't had time to do or actually paid attention to. How I started doing this a lot too is like I started buying myself flowers. Like what a feminine thing. Like flowers are so beautiful. They're cut from their root, they're chopped off so we can put them in a vase and just stare at them. And they have a small lifespan for the most part. But what happens within the time that they get cut to the time they get into the vase, to the time that they blossom and look beautiful, then they die.
That stress that you're feeling, the overwhelm that you're feeling, the anxiety that you're feeling, it's all normal. And actually, so many women, we experience this on a daily basis. I know I did. For years, I was either overwhelmed with my emotions, of reacting to them, or I was numbing them and trying to escape the uncomfortableness of the emotions. And for the last 6 years, all I've done is create emotional mastery within myself, learn to love my emotions, process my emotions, and I created a free 4-step guide to help you do the exact same thing. You will learn to recognize your emotions, process your emotions, release your emotions, and then communicate your emotions to those closest to you so that you can cultivate healthy relationships with others, but most importantly, with yourself. The link is right here. Sign up now.
What we love about flowers is how they look throughout all of it. We love every single part of it. And that's how we are as women. We're cyclical creatures. I've said this so many times. We're cyclical creatures. And so roses and flowers are a big part of being feminine because it's showing us, it's resembling us to like the most beautiful essence. We have to go through a death every single month. We have to go through a blossoming to a spring. We go through all these different seasons in just 1 month. And so I started buying myself flowers as that reminder of this is beautiful right now. And it's only going to get more beautiful and then it's going to die. And that's beautiful too. And then I get to go buy another set of flowers and then I get to see the whole process again. Taking baths, slowing down, I don't know, put some roses in your bath. You're like, I wish a man would do this for me. Like I started doing this a lot actually before I met TJ. I was like, what would I want? What have I always desired from a man? Like, how can I give that to myself? That also creates a lot of safety with a healthy masculine. It's like, you know what? I've always wanted a man to be like, have dinner reservations for you at 8, or here's some flowers for no reason, here's a beautiful love note. And I started doing these things to myself. So again, the actions were masculine, but the feeling behind all those things for me were feminine. They were loving and nurturing towards myself. And so ask yourself, like, how can I give to myself more? How can I just give to myself for no reason without feeling guilty? That's a big one, because if you're in your masculine energy a lot and you feel like you're always do, and go, giving to ourselves sometimes feels hard. It feels good in some ways and easy in some ways. Like, I'll pay anything to do my hair, to do my nails, but the moment I want to buy myself a piece of jewelry, it's like, but do I deserve it? Am I worthy it? Of course I am. So ask yourself, where do you feel these restrictions? Like where are you not allowing yourself to give to yourself fully because you feel like maybe I'm not deserving of it, or maybe I shouldn't do it, or maybe I'm waiting for somebody else to do it? That's how you also tap in more into your feminine energy. Where do you feel the most at flow? What do you do where you feel like time flew by and you had no idea that it was even nighttime all of a sudden? Where in your life has that happened to you? I was living with my nieces when I started practicing and playing with all these different energies, and she's so much in her feminine, and she would be like, let's paint, let's draw. And the first time I started just drawing or painting for no reason, I was like, that's so ugly. What the heck did I just draw? I was so critical because, again, masculine energy, it has to be perfect. It has to make sense. I need to actually look at a picture online so that I know what to draw. And then after doing that enough times, I was like, wait a minute, I'm feeling resistance here. Why do I need this to be this way? And then I just started drawing the ugliest, most beautiful things that I can think of without even Googling a picture. A lot of the times too is doing things that you did when you were a child that you really just loved. Going a little crazy, dancing around the house, eating ice cream for no reason at 2 p.m., whatever it is, what gives to you in a way that you're like, oh, I can do that? Like, I can give myself that? I can do that for myself? Yes, you can. But are you going to allow yourself to do it? Where are you feeling resistance, and where can you allow more of that to happen? So I got into like how you can give yourself in your feminine and your masculine, right? So masculine does a do list, a task. You need to set yourself up for success. The masculine says, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. There are goals. These are our life plans. These are the things that we want to accomplish. The feminine says, I am so grateful for what I have. I'm excited for all the things that I desire. I don't even need to put a timeline on these goals and this life because I know that my life is a journey and that things are going to unravel in the most beautiful way. And she surrenders and she trusts the plan because spiritually she's connected to God as well. And so she knows God is going to take care of all of it. But she also knows that God says, if I give you fish, or I'm going to mess this up completely. I'm so bad with sayings, but it's if you give a man a rod, like, and he doesn't catch a fish or something. The point of what I'm trying to say is God will give you tools for you to do the things you have to do. But if you don't do them, God won't bless the efforts of your work. The masculine does the work. The feminine sits back and receives. The masculine does the work, the feminine is just there. She's just there. It doesn't mean that she doesn't work. She does too, but she does it in a way where she disconnects from the outcome. She detaches from the things that she needed to have control before on. She sees life differently now. And these are practices you have to do every single day and in every aspect of life. I'll give you work example, relationship example, and friendship examples. Let's start with the friendship. Let's say your friend calls you and she's going through a crisis. I don't know. She's going through a quarter life crisis. She's losing her shit. She's just not happy with life and she calls you. She needs your masculine and your feminine energy. But you have to be intuitive and ask yourself, what does she need first? So if she's just rambling on and she wouldn't even be able to process, if you gave her some solutions, then what do you have to do? You have to listen. You have to be nurturing. You have to be loving. You have to be caring. So you give her your feminine energy first. You walk her through how she should process the feelings in a nurturing way. Have you thought of this? Have you thought of that? And you accept her feelings. You validate her feelings. You let her know that the way that she's feeling is totally okay. Then you ask her some questions to help her process things. And then you bring in some masculine energy in order for her to get out of that funk. I think that there's this whole idea of, some people just need to vent sometimes. And do you just need me to hear you or do you want me to give you solutions? We have to go to both extremes. I'll just either sit here and listen to you. I'm not even actually paying attention because all I'm thinking is all the things that I want to tell you so that you can just fix yourself. Or do I just give you the to-do list now so that you can go do it and stop bitching? I don't believe in that. I believe that every interaction that we have, we need the masculine and the feminine energy. And you'll feel that as you're conversing with her. You can even ask her, hey, do you want me to give you my thoughts and ideas on this? That's the masculine energy. My thoughts and ideas on this is X, Y, and Z. Have you ever thought of it this way? Have you ever done it this way? The feminine reassures, nurtures, loves, validates. In your relationship, your husband doesn't need you to be in your masculine when you're cooking dinner, when you're about to make love to him, when you're talking about how you want to change or shift things in your relationship. That masculine energy doesn't belong there. Where it does belong in a relationship is when you're setting boundaries and standards with the man that you're with. And I'm going to tell you why. Because they respect authority. Who has authority? The masculine has more authority than the feminine does. And that's just not a male and female thing. It's just an energetic thing. And so when I set boundaries and standards with TJ, it's in my masculine energy. Hey, I don't like that this happens, or I want to shift this. I want to change that. That this is actually an absolute no. I can't have this happen. This doesn't feel good in my relationship with you. Yada, yada, yada. Now, who reinforces the boundaries and the standards? The feminine does. A man will listen to you and be like, oh, okay, she's serious. She has some authority. She means X, Y, and Z. This is why a lot of women say he changed for her and he didn't change for me. He changed for the woman. He got better as a man. He became a better man for the woman that had high boundaries and high standards. That's what really truly happened. And then the woman that was able to hold and uphold those standards and boundaries with her feminine energy. Because the feminine energy is not a pushover. She's nurturing, she's loving, she's giving. She's understanding, and so she understands that when I set boundaries and standards, it's not a black or white thing. It's not if you don't do this exactly how I said, that means that you don't love me. She understands and she sees all different perspectives. She's so connected with herself and so whole within herself that she understands that things need to be flexible. Right? There's absolute no's and then other things need to be flexible. So when a boundary is crossed or a standard, something happens that you don't like, you get to say things with a loving, caring energy. You get to talk to him when you're feeling your best and say, hey, you know what, this happened. And I think I've mentioned before that this doesn't feel good to me. I really would like to change this. Can you tell me your perspective on this? I really would like to hear your perspective. She recites back what he says so that she fully understands. She communicates well. She's vulnerable. She tells him how she felt. I'm going to say it one more time. She tells him how she truly feels, because we do this a lot of times. The wounded woman in her masculine is not going to tell a man how she feels. She's going to tell him how she doesn't want to feel. She's going to yell and she's going to scream. The feminine that upholds the standards is telling him with her open heart and being vulnerable, hey, when this happens, this is actually how I feel. And this is why I don't like this to happen. How can we change this? How can we shift this? She reinforces. She says, I love actually when you do X, Y, and Z. I see that you're trying. I see that you probably didn't mean to hurt my feelings with this, but can we look at something together? She reinforces the standards and the boundaries with love, vulnerability, and openness, softness, because a man does not respect being yelled at. A man does not respect when you're in your masculine. That's like two men fighting. I see this a lot with women that I've mentored and myself and my past self. It's happened a lot when I was married, especially. We would be like two bulls going at it with each other because I was not able to be vulnerable and he was not able to hold safe space for me to be vulnerable. And it was a negative dance. Like one would happen, it would trigger me, I would trigger him, blah, blah, blah. Like it was just like this toxic triggering where no one could actually see things for what they were. I didn't have standards, I didn't have boundaries, but I did know when I've had enough, and then I'd go react and be in my super masculine and then be like, why doesn't he listen to me? Because men do not respect being yelled at. That is the biggest form of disrespect. respect for them. But they can appreciate a woman being soft and open and saying, hey, this is how I feel. This is how I truly feel. Can you meet me here? Can you do this instead? Men will 100% work with you if you act in that way. If you set the boundaries and the standards with your masculine energy and then reinforce it with your feminine energy. At work or in your business, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're listening to this, the boundaries and standards are hard too, right? And doing tasks are hard. Doing the little things that we're like, oh, I hate doing those things. Those are all masculine energy, masculine things. And so when we do those things, we expect results. But the feminine knows that there will be results. And so actually what I do now, since I've owned my own commercial insurance agency, is that I put in all the work. I know now like when my leads will come in, when my clients will start calling, all these things. And so in the morning, I put in all the things that I have to do. And as soon as I feel that tension of, oh, when is this person going to reply? When is this going to happen? I tell myself, nope, the feminine surrenders. The feminine knows everything's going to work out in the back end. So let me go on a walk. Let me go sit on the floor of my bedroom. I do that a lot. I sit on the floor of my bedroom and I just look up at the ceiling and take some deep breaths. I journal. And this is in the middle of the day. I've allowed myself and given myself permission, like I talked about earlier, to just be. And that's the feminine energy that allows me to feel good in the middle of the day, not because I have to wait till 5 o'clock or 5:30 or whatever. I have to make all these sales in order to feel good. And she allows herself to just be. So ask yourself, in my business or work, in my relationships with others, in my intimate relationships with my partner, where should my masculine show up and where should my feminine show up? And how can I play with these two energies? Because it is a game. It's a beautiful game. It's a beautiful dance. It's a beautiful game. And you're going to start seeing how people react to you. You're going to start seeing how people respect you, love you more for it. You're able to actually get a sense of admiration from people when you're able to play with these two energies, because you need both of them. And so ask yourself these questions like, where am I needing to lean a little more into my masculine sometimes? Where am I needing to lean a little more into my feminine? But the first question I want you to ask yourself from the beginning of this episode is, am I in my hyper masculine too much? And I say that because that's usually my audience is women just like me that have been in their hyper masculine, that don't even really know when to be soft or when not to be soft, or like how to even get into their feminine or stay in their feminine or enjoy their feminine. Am I masculine too much? And then which energy do I need for this circumstance? Which energy serves me for this? Which energy serves me for that? That's a beautiful dance. And only you will know exactly what formula works for you. But I do have a way to help you do this as well. If you're listening to this, actually, my Muse Mastermind is officially live and is ready to go. And this is a space for women just like you, women that want to really fully see themselves deeply, that is ambitious, that is happy with life. You feel like there's something that's missing. There's something you're not connected to. You feel like you're always doing and you're not allowing yourself to just be, that you're not really sure how two things can coexist at once and you almost go to one extreme or the other extreme. This place, the Muse Mastermind, is a place where it's going to come give you permission to allow yourself to be, to allow yourself to process, to allow yourself to heal deeper, to challenge you with your masculine and feminine energies, release toxic patterns, to break habits that no longer serve you, to really get deep into who you truly are, like rediscovering your true self, not the self that you've created in order to protect yourself, not the self that your parents developed, not the self that all the people that have hurt you have developed, for your true authentic self, the muse within you, the woman that's going to give you the most amount of inspiration of your life, because that's who you are. She's already there. It's not about becoming or doing, it's about becoming more of who you are. And so if you're ready to really step into this next level of yourself, if you feel like you've done some personal work, this is really for the woman actually that's done some personal work, some personal development, but she just knows she wants more, she needs more, and she's ready to actually be around other women that feel the same way. And the reason I created the Muse Mastermind is because I really wanted to have a community of women that supported each other. So when you're having a conversation with your boyfriend or your husband or your friend or in your business and you're feeling stuck, you feel like you're stuck in the mud, you're in this gray area, you don't want to be like you've been before, but you also don't know what the next step should be. You want support, you're not sure, you feel maybe a little crazy or overwhelmed. This is where you tap into the Muse Mastermind community. These women, they're all like you. I'm going to be on that chat. I'm going to be helping you out, and we're going to have bi-weekly calls on the Muse Mastermind. I'm going to leave the link here in the bio so that you guys can check out and have more details on it. And you can also book a clarity call with me, because I really want the women that come in here to be really clear on what it is that they're getting and to make sure that we're a good match. And so if you go on my website and you say, okay, well, I get what's going on, what the Muse Mastermind is, usually my buyer and the person that wants to work with me, they're fast decision makers. So a lot of you will just do it. But if you need more clarity, if you're like, wait, what is it exactly? What are we actually going to do? Schedule a clarity call with me. I would love to explain this more. This is something I'm super passionate about, because we are going to navigate through all the phases women go through in different phases of our lives. That is how I've set up the Muse Mastermind, and it is a year-long mastermind. It's going to be a revolving mastermind, so you can sign up whenever. It's not you're too late, or if you signed up in 2 months from now, you're too late. No, but there is a commitment commitment too, if you're willing to pay in full, because the times that I've taken the leap of myself to invest in myself and I've paid in full for something, I told God I'm ready for more, and he gave me more. He always gave me more. He helped me expand more. So there is a special discount if you're ready to do that. And if you're not, then there's a monthly payment option that you can cancel at any time too. Either of these two options you can cancel at any time, because I truly believe in the power of choice and being able to choose where you want to be and what aligns to you when it aligns to you. So thanks for listening and tuning in. I'm actually going to also have my podcast. Another update I want to give you is that my podcast is going to be every 2 weeks now. In order for me to hold space for the Muse Mastermind, I need to be able to create space within my energy and within my time. So I'm going to have my podcast bi-weekly now. So every other Monday, there'll be a new episode on YouTube and on podcast platforms. So thank you for listening. And if you haven't yet, like and subscribe, and please share my videos if you found this helpful or you found that somebody you know might resonate with the stuff that I talk about, because I truly want to help as many women become their own source of inspiration, the muses of their life. And I am so thankful for each and every one of you, whether you've liked, shared, commented, viewed, subscribed. I am so thankful for every single one of you. So I will talk to you guys in 2 weeks. Bye.